Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And I have a special meditation to read today. I also brought one meditation book with me. I brought the Melody Beatty Journey to the Heart. I hope it's good because I didn't bring any other books and I didn't even look in here to see what this meditation is about. But I wanted to read this meditation for you guys today. For every 12-step program, there are specific meditation books that go along with them, and they're all called different things depending on what 12-step program that you're in. This one that I am reading from today is called 24 Hours a Day and is from Hazelden Treatment Center, and it is literally a meditation book that I have used forever. And actually, this is my mom's copy of her book, and it was interesting because when I opened it, and I think I've shown this on here before, but in the very front of it, it says, "This book given to me by my son, Peter A. Monn, December 1992. First time I went to," and then she listed the place that she went to for a meeting, which is really interesting when I look at this because, so my mom got sober and her sobriety date was June 2nd of 1995, and this meditation book I gave to her, I guess Christmas of 1992, which I wasn't even sober then. I didn't get sober until December 17th of 1994, so I gave this book to my mom 2 years before I was sober and 2.5 years before she was sober, and I think, it's probably about planting the seed. And I mean, both of us had known about 12-step programs and, had experienced that before and all that kind of stuff. But this meeting that she referenced in here is a very, very special meeting to me. And so it's interesting that, right after that, I had given her this book as some kind of support or something. I think at that point she was saying that she wanted to go to meetings and things like that. But what's interesting to me about that is that if you've ever heard me tell the Pickle Lady story, that's the meeting that I went to. So I wasn't going to do this because I was just going to read that and go on, but I'll tell the Pickle Lady story since I haven't told it in a while. The Pickle Lady story is that when I was in treatment on New Year's Eve, since I went into treatment on the 17th, well the 16th, so the 17th was actually my first day sober. So when I went into treatment on New Year's Eve, there was a big sobriety New Year's dance in Indianapolis, and I wanted to go, okay? And I knew all my friends were going out, and they were going to have this exciting time, and I thought, well, maybe I'll go and meet some cute guy and whatever at this sobriety dance. And I had heard how much fun it was, and they do this thing where at midnight they all hold hands, and they say the Lord's Prayer, and then they do a sobriety countdown. If you've never been to a sobriety countdown, if you're sober and you go to 12-step meetings, go to a conference, go witness a sobriety countdown at least once in your life. It's the coolest thing in the entire world. And what it is that the person with the most time in the room or at the conference stands up. And so I don't know if it's somebody that has 50, 60 years, they stand up and they say, they'll say, anybody with 60 years. And so that person stands up and it goes all the way down to the person that, I always get real emotional talking about this because when you witness it, it's such a cool thing. And it goes all the way down to the person that has the least amount of time, which so often at conferences and things, it's somebody that has less than 24 hours. They might have 6 hours, or they might have 12 hours or 24 hours. And so you see the person in the room that has the most time sober with the person that has the least time sober, and usually they give them a book or they give them a coin or something like that. And it's just such a phenomenal thing. It's just to see all these miracles in one place happening. It's just such a cool thing, So I wanted to go to this dance. Plus, I heard that they played all kinds of music, and it was really, really fun. And there was a DJ and a band and food and caffeinated drinks. And when you're in treatment, who doesn't love caffeinated drinks? So I was ready to go. So I went to my counselor's office and I knocked on her door and I said, hey, would you care if I had my hairstylist come in here and cut my hair? And she looked at me and she said, that's not going to happen, princess, or something like that. And she said, and since you think that you're so unique and so special, you're not going to go to the dance. You're going to stay back here and you're going to hang out in the facility, the treatment facility, while everybody else goes to the dance. And I was like, what? You mean I'm not unique? And my shell was shattered. And that's one of the things that we talk about in recovery, is that we all have different backgrounds. We're all diverse individuals, right? But when it comes to our addiction, we're not unique and we shouldn't be treated any differently. That everybody is the same in this journey of sobriety that we're going through, and nobody is better than or worse than somebody else. So anyway, And I think that's an important part, and that's part of how it was explained to me, the idea of anonymity, you know? So anyway, for those of us that stayed back, they were going to just this meeting, the meeting that my mom references in this book. And I was out of cigarettes, and I knew that if I went to this meeting, they would stop like at a gas station or fast food on the way home, because I had heard that, you know, that they go to the outside meetings is what they call them. And that the driver would stop on the way. And it was like one of the worst winters ever. It was like horrible, horrible snow outside and whatever. And there was like not really a lot of people on the road. So we went to this meeting, and at this meeting, this woman, and it wasn't tons of people, and I sat in the very back. And at this meeting, there was this woman that shared her story, and her story was crazy. I was like, I mean, she was sleeping under a park bench by the end of her journey, and it just was a really sad, tragic story. And the whole time that she was telling it, she had this big jar of pickles in front of her. And I was like, what? I didn't understand why she had this jar of pickles. I thought she was going to hand out the pickles. I was like, I like pickles, so okay. But anyway, we just kind of sat there the whole, you know, the pickles just sat there. And then at the very end of the meeting, she said, and I'll never forget this, she put her hand on top of the jar, and she turned, like she'd been speaking to the room the whole time, and she turned and she looked, literally, it felt like, okay, and I still to this day believe the message was meant for me. She looked right at me, and she said, and that's why I carry this jar of pickles with me every time I speak, because I used to be a cucumber, but now I'm a pickle. And when you get pickled, you can never go back. And I was like, oh my God. Like, that's me. Like, I'm pickled. Like, you know, like, life is, I can never go back to how I can never drink a little bit. I can never just use a little bit. Like, I'm pickled. It's done. It's over. And, like, that simple message to me of her carrying that pickle jar, like, I got it. Like, that moment. I was like, oh, my God, this makes so much sense to me, you know? So when we were riding back, the guy that was driving the car, he was listening to National Public Radio, and they were talking about something that was happening in some other part of the world that was horrific. And I can remember thinking to myself, you know, but for the grace of God, you know, I was born into a different family in a different part of the world, but I am no different than anybody else. And that could have been my reality, to be born to that part of the world, you know, and be hungry or homeless or whatever, you know, today, and not have a place to sleep in these almost blizzard conditions. And, you know, and it really put everything into perspective as he's like, do you guys want us to stop somewhere? Like, we can stop at any of these fast food places. And I'm like, I have money in my pocket. I could eat at any of these places, and there are people in the world that, you know, don't have that. And it was a real wake-up call for me. And I went back to the treatment facility, and I watched the ball drop. And then I went out, and I said to the guy that was sitting at the counter, who I ended up later working with. He was a really nice guy. He's since passed away, I think. And I said to him, I had been reading all the Michael Crichton books my friend had brought me, and I finished the Jurassic Park writer, and I had finished my last one, and I said, do you guys have anything good to read back there? And he took the 12-step program, or he took the 12-step basic literature of the program that I'm in now, and he threw it on the counter, and he goes, yeah, why don't you go try the first 164 pages of this? And I was like, how dare he be so rude? And so I went into the cafeteria, and I still think about this today. It was like this dark cafeteria, you know, and in the lunchroom area where they had, like, you know, the meals and everything every day, they would put out like lunch meat and chips and chocolate chip cookies and milk and everything for us at night to have snacks. And the people still were not back yet from the party, because they didn't get back till like 3 or 4 in the morning. And so I made a couple sandwiches and put some chips. I don't know why I always get so emotional telling this story, but I put some chips and stuff on this little plate, you know, and I sat turned on the lights, and I sat in the cafeteria area where the sun was coming up, or it was snowing, and I sat there until the sun came up, and I read the first 164 pages of the basic text. And in the last paragraph, it talks about, and you will join some of us as we trudge the road of happy destiny. And I didn't know what that meant. I had no clue what trudging the road of happy destiny meant, but I knew that I wasn't happy. I knew I was so tired, and I was so sick and tired of being sick and tired, like they say. And I just couldn't even go on one more step. I just was exhausted. Like, have you ever just, like, kept up for so long that you're like, I literally can't go on one more moment? Like, that's how I felt. And I remember getting to that paragraph where it talks about, and we will surely meet some of you along the way. And I thought, God, I want this so bad. Like, I want it so bad, and I don't know how to make it a reality for me. And I remember sharing that with my counselor the next day, and she said, you know, like whenever she came back in, and she was like, all you have to do is just put one foot in front of the other, you know? It's like the saying in recovery, like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. It's like, you don't have to do all of it today, you know? But I wanted that so bad. And it all started with that lady talking about the pickles and how I was pickled, you know? And I don't know, for me, that was like a spiritual moment. It was this moment of clarity that I had in sobriety, and everything changed that night. You know, I consider the 17th my sobriety birthday, but really everything changed for me on New Year's Eve of that year. And it just was like this really cool thing. And I cry out of joy. I cry out of this momentous gift that I have been given in my life, because recovery is a gift. There are so many people that die on a daily basis that are never given the gift of recovery. You know, they are never exposed to the gift of recovery, and they won't have a chance, you know. And we still every day say a prayer for the still suffering alcoholic and addict out there. Because there's so many people that are passing on a daily basis. You know, I was talking to this guy in the pool the other day who's a paramedic, and I said, do you go to a lot of overdoses? And he said, oh my God, yeah. He goes, sometimes we go to the same people 2 and 3 times in a night, you know? And just like, to know that I don't live that life anymore. And I did. You know, like, that's the thing. It's like, I did live that life one day during a long period of my life, you know? And it's like, that's not my life today, and I'm so grateful for that. So anyway, that was kind of a long way to get to, I'm probably not going to read Melody Beatty now, but that's a long way to get to what I wanted to read. So I saw this on here, and this is from the 1st of July, and actually, my mom, she had it all like underlined and stuff, and this is, so they have the 12-step thought for the day, the meditation for the day, and the prayer for the day. And the meditation for the day is, and I loved this, when I was like, why did she highlight this? So maybe I was meant to hear this, I don't know. Learn daily the lesson of trust and calm in the midst of the storms of life. Whatever of sorrow or difficulty the day may bring, God's command to you is the same. Be grateful, humble, calm, and loving to all people. Leave each soul the better for having met you or heard you. For all kinds of people, this should be your attitude, a loving desire to help and an infectious spirit of calmness and trust in God. You have the answer to loneliness and fear, which is calm faith in the goodness and purpose in the universe. And I loved that when I read that. I read it and I thought, oh my God, like, if I have this attitude every time I come in contact with people, you know, and I'm part of the solution instead of part of the problem, and I suit up and I show up, and I can be a smile on somebody's face, or a shoulder to lean on, then maybe, just maybe, I'm making the world a little bit better each day, you know? Anyway, let me know what you think about that meditation in the comment section below. I love you guys. Thank you for letting me share that today, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.